The three-row crossover and SUV market gives you a lot of versatility, not only when it pertains to the dimensions and the size of these vehicles where they're more conducive for a growing family, but also you get more powerful engines and a long list of available features. When you are looking at upgrading to a three-row SUV or crossover, you're probably wondering what is the best fit for you, because there are a lot of options, not only within this segment, but when you take a look at the trim levels, you start wondering what is a great package. Maybe I'm looking for a vehicle that won't go too far over my budget, and that's where the Explorer XLT really slots into place very nicely. And in this video, I want to take a deep dive into this Explorer. I want to check out all the features that this model comes equipped with, and also see why, if you are looking at buying an SUV at around $50,000, maybe just a bit below that, then maybe taking a look at the Ford Explorer XLT might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Acton Ford in Acton, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Ford inventory. Also, since we are taking a look at the Explorer today, at Acton Ford, they have a wide range of Explorers available on the lot. So if you don't want to wait 4 to 6 months for your new Explorer, check out Acton Ford. They have the Explorer for you. Also, before we get started, make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live on the channel. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. One of America's best-selling SUVs, the Ford Explorer, has maintained its status as being the go-to vehicle for families despite the growing number of rivals who've entered this market in recent years, like the Kia Telluride and Hyundai Palisade. Ever since this SUV went through a major transformation back in 2019 and switched to a rear-wheel drive bias platform rather than taking the traditional mid-size crossover route, the Explorer became something more than just a Toyota Highlander or Jeep Grand Cherokee alternative. The focus and attention to detail Ford had for their hottest selling SUV brings more to the table than just its utility, this time offering a wide selection of models that suits the lives of most Americans. Starting off with pricing, the 2022 Ford Explorer XLT comes in at just under 40 grand. But as we'll discover throughout this review, this trim offers an extensive amount of packages that not only improves the ownership experience, but the convenience and comfort features will make the XLT a great bang for your buck. Throughout the years, the Explorer has grown in size, becoming more than just a utility vehicle, as its 199 inches in length and 79 inches in width does outclass a majority of its rivals. Yet even with its larger road presence, the Explorer retains a sense of maneuverability and agility that's not too common for crossovers and SUVs in this market. For ground clearance, you're looking at just over 8 inches when you opt for 4-wheel drive. However, if you're an outdoor adventurer, the Timberline would be our recommendation with its additional 0.7 of an inch lift over a standard Explorer. Because the XLT sits just above the base trim, it often gets overlooked by those enticed by the ST or King Ranch. Yet the Sport Appearance package, in conjunction with the 202A package, takes what would be your average everyday Explorer and adds eye-catching cosmetic enhancements. The carbonized gray grille bars and subtle mesh design elevates the look of the front fascia, and the Explorer badge that sits on the hood is a classy touch that does go a long way in making a great first impression. Full LED headlights and LED fog lights will provide a sufficient amount of lighting late at night. And an unappreciated aspect for this generation is the sleek and muscular body lines that does add some aggression to the overall appearance for this crossover. Moving over to the side profile, since this model has a Sport Appearance package, 20-inch carbonized gray painted wheels will help transform the look of this SUV. But if you're looking for a softer ride quality, you may want to stick with the 18s that come standard. Even with the larger wheels, the Explorer handles the imperfections quite nicely to offer a comfortable driving experience on longer road trips. Adding a nice color contrast is the gloss black side mirror caps, and you'll have blind spot detection for added safety. Then coming around to the back, The standard LED taillights and dual exhaust outlets will likely grab your attention first when taking a glance at the Explorer from this angle. Its flat and somewhat aerodynamic roofline takes away a lot of the boxiness that prior generations were known for. And while subtle, it's this one minor design feature that we normally see from European luxury brands that helps set the Explorer apart from its rivals. To finish off the appearance, plastic cladding blends in nicely with the carbonized gray exterior color, and doesn't overstate the fact that this SUV is capable of going off-road. Under the hood, the Explorer XLT is powered by a 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder engine that produces 300 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission. While the sportier ST trim with the 400 horsepower V6 will likely draw the attention of enthusiasts, this 4-cylinder is quick to respond, which inspires confidence when entering highways and passing slower drivers. When compared to rivals who utilize naturally aspirated V6 powertrains, the Explorer feels more capable and willing to get up to speed. And in fact, it has a 6-second 0 to 60 time, which does outclass rivals in this market, and in some cases by wide margins. For the drivetrain, rear-wheel drive does come standard, but for most Explorers in colder regions of the US, you're more likely to come across models with 4-wheel drive. For fuel economy, you can expect to receive right around 20 miles per gallon in the city and 27 miles per gallon on the highway. Stepping inside, our model has the optional ActiveX seats, which come equipped on XLTs with the 202A package, providing power adjustability and 3-level heated seat functionality for both the driver and passenger. And for those constantly on the go, this upholstery not only adds a premium quality to the interior, but it's easier to clean as well. Support and cushioning will keep you in place when cornering on back roads. However, bolstering will be kept to a minimum, as the XLT is not the sportiest trim Ford offers for the Explorer. In front of you, between the analog gauges, you will have a digital display where you can access a variety of information. And much like we see across the board for newer Ford products, each drive mode has their own theme to help bring some life to the driving experience on longer road trips. Then moving over to the infotainment system, the XLT comes standard with an 8-inch touchscreen, with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. And available for this trim is a voice-activated navigation system. You can also opt for the 12-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system to amplify the audio of your favorite music. For higher trims for the Explorer, the head unit will be upgraded to a 12-inch touchscreen. However, for buyers looking for simplicity, this user interface should be easy to get adapted to. You'll have a rear backup camera with trajectory, to go along with rear parking sensors. And to increase the amount of safety for this SUV, a 360-degree camera is available. Below, you'll find the buttons and dials for the dual-zone climate control, front and rear defrosters, 3-level heated seats, heated steering wheel, and also the volume and tuning knobs that are all within arm's reach to help keep your eyes on the road ahead rather than looking at the screen itself like we've experienced often for crossovers in this market. A hidden storage compartment will reveal a cubby for a smartphone with a 12-volt outlet and USB-C and USB input. Then for the center console, the drive mode selector, traction control, and hill descent control will all be placed conveniently next to you, as the dashboard and interior wrap around you to offer an intuitive and welcoming driving environment. For the center storage compartment, there'll be plenty of room for smaller items. And rounding out the front seating area, our Explorer has the $1,700 twin-panel moonroof that brings in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now moving on to the second row, we're going to start off on the passenger side. And this seat has been adjusted all the way back and is somewhat on a recline. And as you can tell, I don't really have a lot of legroom here, but I'm doing this for demonstrational purposes because our model does have the caption chairs. And with the caption chairs, you have the ability to slide them forwards and backwards to give you a bit more legroom for the second row. But also, if you have people in the third row, you can at least tell your passengers in the second row to slide a bit forwards just to give them a bit more space. Also, best of all is that these seats do recline as well, probably around 5 to 10 degrees. And now you can just sit back here, relax, and enjoy the driving experience, especially since both captain chairs have their own armrest. Now, I personally find the legroom to be more than adequate, especially for someone around the height of 5'8 or 5'9, but also you have plenty of headroom even with the panoramic moonroof. Then on the driver's side, the seat is adjusted to someone of my height, around 5'5", and I have plenty of legroom. So ultimately, and we're going to find this out for the third row, the Ford Explorer is certainly conducive for larger families. Also back here, you do have climate control to go along with the USB-C and USB input, and also a 12-volt outlet. Now moving on to the third row, these seats are adjusted a bit further up, but they're not so far up where the people in the second row are going to be cramped or claustrophobic. And to be quite honest, it's not that bad back here, especially when it comes to headroom, but also even legroom as well. For a lot of vehicles in this market, a lot of the 3-row crossovers I've reviewed, this third row can be very tight, and it's not even conducive for someone maybe over the height of 5 feet. But at my height around 5'5", this is actually not that bad. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that these are captain chairs in front of me rather than just the bench seats. So if you are somebody that's looking to have third row functionality, I think the Explorer, especially with the captain's chairs, is definitely the way to go. Now, of course, I'm not going to say you're going to be able to fit maybe average size adults back here, but if you do have smaller kids, it will certainly be more than spacious for that third row. It's also worth mentioning that these seats are bolted to the floor, so you are going to be sitting in more of a ball form. However, because these seats do provide a good amount of cushioning and support, I wouldn't find that to be too much of an issue, especially if you are just using this vehicle for your family. And then rounding out the third row seating area, there will be cup holders mounted on both sides of the third row. Now coming around to the back, you're going to receive a power liftgate for the XLT. And inside, behind the third row seats, you're looking at right around 18.2 cubic feet of room. Now, I know a number of you are concerned about the cargo area behind the third row seats for a lot of 3-row crossovers, but I'm going to tell you this right now, I think this is more than practical, especially if you do have kids in the third row when you are grocery shopping. I was able to fit all my camera gear today, no problems. It has 2 bags of camera gear, a gimbal box, and a tripod, and still had enough room to stack on a few more items. But there is one thing to note here about the cargo area behind the third row seats, and that is underneath the floor mat, you will have another storage compartment for some smaller items, such as maybe even tech gadgets or maybe even a smaller bag. So if you do leave this vehicle unattended for a while, you can leave them back here and they'll be safe and secure. But also, you can utilize the side pockets on both sides of the rear cargo area. So maybe you have a couple water bottles or maybe even a first aid kit. You can place them there, and that way they can stay in place when you are on a spirited drive. Then with the third row seats folded, you're looking at right around 47.9 cubic feet. So if you are using the Explorer as just a 2-row crossover or SUV, you have plenty of room for all your items if you are going to the mountains to ski and snowboard, or maybe you're just going on a longer road trip with the family. And then finally, with the second row seats folded, you're looking at close to 88 cubic feet of room. So that will actually outclass a lot of 3-row crossovers and SUVs in this market and price range. So whether it's the features that draw your attention or just the interior spacing, the Explorer really is a great option in this market when it comes to that practicality. And then once you're done, just press the button and the liftgate will close automatically. It's difficult for me to consider the Ford Explorer to be a mid-size crossover rather than an SUV because this particular generation, Ford went back to their roots. So it's built on a rear-wheel drive bias platform. Now it's not a body-on-frame chassis, so it's not going to ride like an F-150. It's not going to have that rugged attribute to it. But it's not going to be soft like other crossovers we see in this segment, like the Chevrolet Traverse or even the Volkswagen Atlas. This to me is a whole different experience, but also so American in how it drives. And that is not a bad thing at all, because you can cross-shop this with the Korean manufacturers like Hyundai and Kia, but also even Volkswagen as well with that Atlas. But I love the way the Explorer performs. I love the way it feels on the roadways. And this is exactly what a lot of consumers are looking for in this market. So you have a tons of interior spacing, not only when it comes to the second and third rows, but also even the shoulder room as well. You're not going to feel claustrophobic in here at all. What I also love too, and this is more so than other vehicles I've reviewed so far in this price range and market, is that you sit really high up. It has that truck feel to it, even though once again, it is still built on a unibody chassis, but I love the fact that it doesn't feel like a typical crossover. There's at least some rugged attributes to it, even if it's not a full-on body-on-frame vehicle. Now, since we are in the XLT trim, we do have a bit more of a minimalistic interior, although I have no issue with the Sync 3 system. I also love the fact that all the buttons are within arm's reach and that Ford designed this dashboard to stick a bit more out, so that way all your climate control settings are really close to you. Also, of course, we don't have a full digital gauge cluster, but I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Some buyers aren't looking for all that technology. Then when it comes to front vision, you do have plenty of it. Now, when you are looking straight out in front of you, the hood does stick out quite a bit, so that does create a bit of a blind spot, especially as I'm trying to maneuver my way around these people who are going into this little shopping center. But I love the maneuverability though, so I didn't feel like I was going to get too close to that curb. Now, A-pillars are somewhat thin, so you don't really need to worry about having that blind spot when you are approaching an intersection. Then looking at your side mirrors, they are decently sized, and they're also placed in a good spot, so I can see what's in my blind spots, and of course we do have blind spot detection. And then looking out back, even with the headrest in the way, I can see what's directly behind me, although if you don't have anybody in the third row, definitely fold those seats for better visibility. Really liking the getup of this 2.3 liter four-cylinder engine. Now, going over the bumps and imperfections in the road at around 40 miles an hour, you really don't feel them even with the 20-inch tires, which actually surprises me. Now, you don't need to go with the sports appearance package, but I do think it gives this SUV a bit more character and personality. But for a lot of crossovers in this market, you don't really expect to receive the most plush or luxurious experience. And I'm not saying that the XLT is a luxury crossover or luxury trim by any means, but this is rather nice when you are cruising around town or on the back roads. When it comes to the size of the Explorer, you really don't feel it, even though it's around 200 inches in length. And also, even when it comes to the width, you don't really notice it that much. So if you are somebody that's hopping in from an Escape, I think you're going to find yourself right at home behind the wheel of the Explorer. I also love the fact that it's a very comfortable crossover to drive around town and even on the back roads as well. Sure, you are going to feel some body roll because the Explorer does not have a lower center of gravity. Although if you are somebody that is looking for a sportier experience, I would say go with the ST. Of course, you get the V6, but also you're going to have that performance that you're probably looking for in a fun daily driver. But personally, with the 2.3 liter four-cylinder engine, I think this is more than enough for most buyers. And also when it comes to that comfort aspect, I think the suspension is certainly on par with its closest rival. So I would say this would be very much in line with the Hyundai Palisade and Kia Telluride. What I also like too is that when it comes to the XLT, you don't feel as though that you may have cheapened out a bit because you get the ActiveX seat material, which does feel rather plush. I think it's a lot better than cloth. Also, it will be easier to clean as well. But also, when you take a look at the available packages, you get the panoramic moonroof, which a lot of vehicles that are lower in the trim levels for their models tend not to give you that panoramic moonroof. You might just get a regular moonroof. Also, even when it comes to the technology features, the heated seats, the heated steering wheel, you can go pretty far with the Explorer. And of course, you can upgrade to the Bang & Olufsen sound system. So for the 2022 model, you can really go all out. You can also stick to your budget as well. But that's one thing I like about the Explorer XLT. I think it's a great value, especially for its trim, because you can go with the Limited, you can go really far out with the King Ranch. But I think the XLT is providing a lot to consumers, especially for those who are not looking to spend over 50 grand. Now, getting on the highway here, nice steering feel there. It's light, very American-like when it comes to the cornering ability. So you're not going to have a lot of feedback in the corners, but still provides a lot of confidence. Now at highway speeds, you don't really hear a lot of road noise, which is a bit of a surprise to me because you do have the 20-inch tires on this model. Now there will be some wind noise present, and that's mostly because of the design of the Explorer, because it has that boxier shape, so that's to be expected. I do love the pickup of the Explorer, and I'm not even flooring it here. Very responsive. The gear shifts are somewhat smooth. It's not going to be the sportiest experience, but still gives you that confidence when you are behind slower drivers. You can get on the highway with ease and very safely. And even at around 60 miles an hour, it feels very composed on the roadways, even though it does not have a lower center of gravity. When it comes to performance in a straight line, I will say that I think the Explorer does a great job with a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder engine. I think it's a bit more responsive than the V6 that I had experienced with the Highlander, and even with the transmission, this 10-speed automatic, I think it shifts quicker than the 9-speed that was in the Nissan Pathfinder. So it does have some athletic tendencies to it, but it's not going to be an all-out performance SUV or crossover. So just keep all of that in mind. But as a family hauler, as a daily driver, I think it's giving you more than enough power for sure. Ultimately, my biggest takeaway for the Explorer during this test drive is just how vastly different it performs and drives compared to its closest rivals. I think you'd have to look at the Jeep Cherokee, the new Grand Cherokee, I should say, as being that new close rival when it comes to the driving dynamics, because the Ford Explorer is really one of the only options in this market that is built on a rear-wheel drive bias platform. So it's not going to feel crossover-like, it's not going to feel car-like. This has more of an SUV, a traditional SUV feel to it. And like I said before, it's not going to be one of those SUVs that you're going to go tackle the off-road and, you know, maybe go on a safari. This is more of an SUV that you're going to have the ability to go through deep snow, maybe even go on dirt roads, but also have that comfort aspect where you can go on longer road trips with the family. What I also like too is that I think this is a great alternative to a minivan as well, just because of that interior spacing. And then ultimately, it really boils down to that pricing as well. So if you're somebody that maybe doesn't want to go with the ST, the King Ranch, or the Limited, don't feel bad or don't feel as though that you cheapened out with the XLT. I think this is a great value and a great package. And also, of course, you can spend maybe 30-40 minutes looking at the optional features and finding the right package for you. And that's why I feel the Explorer is still a great option in this segment compared to the new Pathfinder, compared to the Hyundai Palisade, the Kia Telluride, and also even the Mazda CX-9. This, to me, I feel is a more enjoyable SUV to drive. It's a bit more engaging and has a bit more of those rugged qualities that we don't see for a lot of crossovers. So to wrap up my time with the 2022 Ford Explorer XLT, I really like what this trim is offering buyers. You get a good amount of features at around $50,000, where you can go with the ActiveX seating material, the captain shares, the full panoramic moonroof. Also, you get heated seats and a heated steering wheel. I personally don't know what else you could possibly ask for. Sure, maybe a bigger infotainment system or a full digital gauge cluster, but that is optional on the higher trims for the Explorer. Also, I love the way the interior is wrapped around you, the way it's designed and molded to you, so that way everything is within arm's reach. Then when it comes to the driving experience, as I talked about during the test drive, I think the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder engine is giving you more than enough power, and then also the suspension is more than forgiving, so that way if you are going on a road trip with the family, people will not be getting thrown around when you are going over the imperfections in the road. But ultimately, at around $50,000, I think this is still a great vehicle. I love what the XLT is providing and offering, and if you are somebody that is looking for a 3-row crossover SUV, I do think you're going to enjoy the Explorer more so than other crossovers that are built on front-wheel drive bias platforms. I just think that you get a bit more engagement, and the Explorer feels a bit more rugged and a bit more substantial than what we see from rivals. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Boston Autoblog so you can see what I'm up to and what vehicles I'll be featuring in the future. And I will see you guys next time.